I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public comment. Seeing none here. Online. I've got several additions to the agenda. 9.8 is HR updates of employee manual. 9.9 approve the support letter for project concern. We have 9.10 is a solid waste approval of K.S.A to work on their heating and cooling. And we have an ARPA funding on 9.11 agenda item. The minutes, did everyone have a chance to read the minutes from last or 2 weeks ago?
Yes, I did. I would make a motion to approve.
Second. It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Commissioner comments and committee reports. Casey?
Yes, so I just wanted to congratulate the Effingham Tigers on securing the Northeast Kansas League Championship. They had an 18-6 victory over Jackson Heights, which was the back-to-back championship for them and the first time since 1970. So I thought that was pretty cool. And also last week on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I attended the 47th annual Kansas Association of Counties Conference. This was my second year attending, and I feel like it was just as valuable for me as last year, having the opportunity to attend several educational classes. I went to county budget planning, property appraisals, the process and results, renewable energy, which talked about where Kansas is heading in the next 10 years, constituent and communication and engagement practices. Then on Monday evening, we were lucky enough to have our own Karen Seberg came down and presented to the women of K.A.C. A presentation showcasing our Amelia Earhart Museum. So that was really cool to be able to be from Atchison County and watching her give her presentation. Then on Tuesday, the breakout session was based on county populations. And I think that's always interesting because Richard Malm from Jefferson County kind of headed it up. But we talked about ARPA and how everyone, all the counties around us are using their ARPA dollars. Just had the opportunity to network and talk about road agreements and partnerships. Wednesday was balancing values to build community within county leadership. And then we had an opportunity to just sit in a presentation with commissioners, which was always very helpful just to kind of get outside perspective and hear that everyone's facing kind of the same challenges and how we can come together and make those better. So it's good.
Sounds like a good meeting.
Yeah.
Jack?
I have nothing to do.
Okay, the only thing I have is the week of November 8th, we weren't going to have a meeting because of Election Day, but we are going to have a special meeting on this November 7th at 1 p.m. for R&R hearing, and we're going to redo the R&R hearing and the budget hearing. I think those are the only things scheduled for that day. And then the next week, normally we canvass votes on the Monday. Well, because of Veterans Day has fallen and it's a holiday, Michelle got clarification from the Secretary of State's office that we should postpone that one day because of the mail being held up. So we will canvass on November 14th, which is our regular meeting day, Tuesday. And so that will be that day.
15th.
Or the 15th, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, the next item, EMS Commission report for 2022 for September. Put that in the file for information. In EMS. New business. Mark Sutner, you're up. The aviary agreement for Senior Village.
Okay, so at Atchison Senior Village, they have their agreement with Serenity Aquarium and Aviary Services has ended. So we're just looking to renew our aviary service agreement that provides food for the bird sanctuary that they have up there, that the residents can view and watch, and I think it brings them a real delight. So it's for a quarterly payment of $327.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Sorry. This has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
It was approved 3-0, and that is just chairman only. Signature. Okay. Next we have from the clerk's office, a disposal order for disposal of records. For K.A.R. 53-2-116 amendments there to dispose of records. Do I hear a motion to allow the clerk to dispose?
So moved.
Sorry. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. And it requires 3. Yeah. Next up is a PO for the county commission for filing cabinets that fit under our desks here in the amount of $660.75.
Make a motion to approve.
Start. It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Just go in here. Let's just. Thank you. Okay, next I have POs for the county attorney. They're doing some office work. There, it needs to need to be done individually, or can we? You do them all together. All together. The first one is for some plumbing in the office for $391.19. The next one is for office chairs for the office, $440.70. And third one is for drywall and studs, et cetera, for $356.58. Do I hear a motion to approve these expenditures?
Make a motion to approve 3 purchase orders for the county attorney. One for $391.19, one for $440.70, and one for $356.58.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This is 3-0. There's 3 sets on there. Go ahead if you want to. I'm gonna move on, so we're not. Wes, you're up.
Good afternoon. All right, so I have three purchase orders for you. The first one is. It's time to renew the Cisco SmartNet for our firewall and the licensing for our Cisco Interconnect, which is how we remote into our software. That total, or it's the conversion one, and the total of is $2,967.58.
Would you rather these be approved separately?
It's completely up to you. I can do them all at once if you want.
Is that okay with?
Or you want to do this one different?
Yeah,
separate?
I think we should do them separate just for,
Okay.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve the firewall smart net renewal in the amount of $2,967.58.
Second. It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Lot of paperwork today.
Trade.
So I have to sign that.
Okay, the second purchase order is to Dell EMC. It's for the support and maintenance of our Dell VNXE, which is where we house all of our production data for every office in the county, with the exception of the sheriff's office and joint communications. That is in the amount of $10,782.42.
And this is budgeted, correct?
It's a budget yearly expense, yes.
Do I hear a motion to accept?
Make a motion to approve Adele licensing support maintenance in the amount of $10,782.42.
Second. It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
Okay, and the third purchase order is to replace all of our outdated AEDs countywide. So all of our county offices. That is going to be a purchase of 8 AEDs total, 2 for the courthouse, 1 for the jail, 1 for community corrections, 1 for senior village, 1 for road and bridge, 1 for the rescue maintenance building, and 1 for the transfer station east. And then we can try and use one of those old outdated ones to put out at the transfer station west. That PO is to American AED and is an amount of $24,992. And that is to be ARPA funds used to finance that or to pay for that.
Do I hear a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0.
And I just want to follow up just with a little more discussion, since Wes did mention that they are outdated. Typically, these AEDs have a 10 to 15-year lifespan, and so they will, the new ones will fall under emergency management to monitor and keep on a replacement plan in the future. Thank you.
And EMS will check the pads and batteries on a bi-monthly basis.
Thank
Make
you.
sure that they're always in date range. All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the request for the quarterly approval of the sports complex maintenance funds, which is the maintenance from the 1/4% dedicated sales tax that goes towards those 2 entities for this purpose. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And this passes 3-0, and this is by chairman only. Approval of the county manual. What's the next?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to allow our HR director to implement all updates of the employee manual as of today, October 25th, 2022. And to note that we have a policy committee in place that are currently working to review and revise that currently. However, this will allow the director to get it up to date with one working copy for all department heads.
Just a point of question. You mean that these are things that we've already passed as a commission?
Yes, sir.
She's not just adding her.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Second.
So it's been piecemealed and never given her authority to be able to create one working copy. So what that is we have department heads with older versions. There's a version online that doesn't match what she's working off of, and this will just clean it up and allow her to have a working copy as of today that everyone will abide by, knowing there's a policy committee that's currently reviewing and will revise it with any changes needed in the future that will then be approved by the commission.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We approve the county manual update. Next up, we have a letter of support from Project Concern. I'll read the letter. Dear Stephanie, the Atchison County Board of Commissioners fully supports the application of Project Concern, Inc. to the Kansas Department of Transportation for operating expenses to help support the transportation program in the city and the county of Atchison. Congregate meals and Meals on Wheels for the homebound provided to many of the citizens of Atchison and those at the Effingham site are essential for the physical and mental health of our senior citizens. The transportation service is necessary in this area because it is the only service available in our community that provides regular transportation for the elderly, handicapped, and others at a minimum cost. Atchison County fully supports what Project Concern does and every year appropriates to them the sum of $125,000. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is chairman's signature only. I've still got one in here that I didn't get written down on the, and there's a county budget certification to the Conservation District. This is just an affirmation and form to validate what the funds that we give, and that total is $31,518. So I hear a motion that allows me to sign that this is what we appropriate, and this goes to the commission, the Conservation District.
I'll make a motion for the chairman to sign.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The cast and solid waste.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to allow our solid waste director to move forward with a proposal in the amount of $5,890 to Caston's Plumbing and Heating to demo our existing HVAC system and install a new 80,000 BTU 80% furnace, a 2-ton horizontal coil, and a 2-ton 13 SEER condensing unit on a new pad. They will also install a new refrigeration line from the indoor coil to outdoor unit and expose on the southwest corner of the building. All hookups to be completed and the system run tested upon completion of the job.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Old business, county councilor updates.
Okay. He had as you know, we had a tax sale pretty recently. And there were some properties that didn't sell in that tax sale. And also in the tax sale before that, we had properties that didn't sell. And we have a couple of options on what to do with those properties. In the past, going back to prior county councilors, but generally, we just vacated the judgment regarding the property that didn't sell, and we put it in a tax sale sometime in the future. That has some problems because it doesn't, the properties didn't sell for a reason, and they might not sell in the next one. And frequently, these properties are properties that are difficult to obtain service of process on, that people may be deceased, the record owners, or may not live in the area. And then, of course, I can tell you, I get a call on every one of them when we put them in a second time that the person thinks that they already had sold the property to the county or given it in the prior tax sale. So we have three options really, or well, we've got more than that. There's a statute that allows with if there is if properties, if the purpose is for low-income housing, community development, or economic development purposes, the Board of County Commissioners is authorized to sell property that's in a tax sale. And I think that could be done here. Those are not defined, but community development is a pretty broad topic. It's essentially anything that you all think would make the community a better place. Is community development. So that can be quite broad. And I think it also, depending on the specific tract you're talking about, could be the case, because if you've got a tract that is not sellable, if you're transferring it and keeping the new owner is going to keep it mowed and that sort of thing, that could be community development, depending on the circumstances. I don't know that you'd say that with a lot that had a house on it that was in good condition. I don't know that would be community development to just transfer that. But on a case-by-case basis, you could look at lots, and if you determine that it would be in the best interest of the community, you can you have the authority to sell those. There is also a statute that allows, if a property has been through a tax sale and hasn't sold, that there's a process that you can still sell it through a negotiated public or private sale. And that sale that you come up with has to be, the details of it has to be published, and the sale has to be approved by the district court. And the purpose of publication is to give notice to the world of what you're doing, so that others could come in and say, well, wait a minute, he's only giving you $1, I would give you $2, or come up with a better plan or a different plan for you to consider. And that process means that you don't have to, you would know what the other options are before you complete something rather than after. And then also it does have to be approved by the court. So there would, there's probably a 30-day time frame involved in doing those. The third way, and from what I understand, this is the most common with Kansas counties, is if property doesn't sell in a tax sale, the people or the county may ask the court to issue an order for the sheriff to transfer the property to the county via the sheriff's deed. So just like the deed that the purchasers get at the sale, that there would be a deed done by the sheriff to the county. And in that situation, for the first 6 months after the deed is transferred to the county, you may sell it to anybody, but the purchase price has to be the amount of the judgment, which is all of the taxes and special assessments on the property and interest and court costs. And I think it's safe to say it's unlikely that anybody's going to pay that amount, since if they were willing to pay that, they would have showed up and did the sale. But anyway, it is possible, and it may sometimes happen that somebody says, I didn't realize that property was going to be in the sale, and I want it, and they would be willing to pay that amount. The second option there, or after that first 6 months, then you may lower the price and accept offers or ask for sealed bids and sell the property that way. And there are some counties that have a list of properties that didn't sell in prior tax sales that people may make an offer to the board on. And that's an option. And then there's also an option of establishing a county land bank, which we do not have. The city of Atchison has one, but the statute explicitly allows for the transfer of these to a county land bank. I also think there's a really good possibility that you could transfer them under that very first option we talked about, that is the community development or economic development, to a city land bank if you wanted to do that. So I have, let's go through the, I put in front of you a little small map. And it's to kind of show you where each of the properties are. And I'm going to try to share my screen here. And so for that very first one, it's you also have there's a list of the property information that the county has, and these are sorted in that order and sorted by that's the quick ref number. So the first one on the
This one
right
would equal the first page.
right and they're sorted in how Google sorts those, because you've got one that's 307,000 as you get down the list, and it some didn't sort it that way, but that's the way that the Google sorts it. So anyway, this is the Google Street View of that first property, and you can see on the map where it's located on North 6th Street, just north of 6th and N Street. So that is just so you know what property we're talking about there.
May I also offer in here?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Many of these properties that you're looking at are too small for reconstruction on. The city, all of these lots, I believe, are inside the city limits. And as a general rule, it requires so many square feet to build on within the city limits. And most of these are empty and vacant because they are too small to build on. So this is one that is too small. It's a single family neighborhood, and it requires, I think in that area, 6,000 or 7,000 square feet to qualify. And the lot is only like 5,500 or something. And you're going to find that is true with a lot of these. They don't have much value, is the reason they're not selling. So they're mostly valuable to the person who lives next door to them or owns the property adjacent to them. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. The second one is also on North 6th Street. And that's a really small, narrow lot, but as near as I can approximate, that's the Google Street View of that property.
The house is not included.
But yes, right, it's,
None of these had
Part
any
becomes a
buildings
healthcare.
on.
I could that may be a more accurate view of it, but it didn't give much context as to what you're looking at.
Also, another editorial comment for you. One of the reasons we're interested in getting rid of them is because from previous tax sales, we still own some. It comes into question as to whether or not they're exempt because they're not necessary for county use. And then the city sends the county weed notices when they need to be mowed. Is that also
Yeah,
true?
we have one lot that's one lot parcel, it's 8 feet wide. And it was acquired through a tax sale well before I was associated with the county, so. That's true.
I just would like to hop in for a second. Some of these would possibly be in an area that have their own septic system. That they're not connected to the city. If they don't have much room for themselves, they ought to get onto these lots if they're next to them, so they would have some room to build like through any K.S. You know, they've had some of the people in the city that don't have room for their own sewer. If they've got an empty lot next to them, they're to snap it up, they may need it.
The next two are really together, they are adjacent to one another. So going down the hill, it starts essentially to the left here and stops before that house. But there are two lots, one that's R1224 and R1225.
They're two different owners, right?
It
Right.
doesn't matter who owns them anymore.
Anymore, because we've exalted
They've already
the tax
been
sales, so now
duly
it's
served and
Okay.
courts have said
perfect.
these have been sold now
To the-
to the county.
Okay.
For disposal.
Thank you. I was just
And-
noticing as it's.
And this is North Seventh. This is what you're looking at in the background there is LFM Park. This is just off of what we used to know as Division Street. And it, you know, they're not high value areas necessarily where they are.
So this is close to the park then.
It's half a block away from LFM Park.
Okay. There was a gentleman at K.A.C. saying he's doing a study in that area right now on community development. So just to be noteworthy of that.
They are looking at trying to provide some improvements to that area for whatever reason. And one of the things they're looking at is putting splash pads in there. Now, it's not that I have a special connection with the city. I just hear what people say about it.
Moving to the Walnut Street property, it's a vacant lot here at the corner of Walnut and the alley there.
This is right across the street from the old church, was just to the right of this alley. The one that Jerome Bratton owned and that got torn down. No, I guess.
Yeah, this map, Google map is from 2013.
Okay, that building gone.
So the next one here is on M Street. Vacant lot. Wasn't exactly sure where exactly it started and ended, but that matching up with the maps, that looked to be it, where it was. And the next one is on Hickory Street. And it's a vacant lot in between a couple of other structures. The next one is on Riley Street, and this is one that is, it's at the corner there. Yeah. What is that, 12th and Riley? The next one is at 10th and Laramie. Vacant lot. This next one, we've had some interest about. Oh, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me make sure I have my feelings right. Or, I don't know, I meant to hit the wrong one. This is, it's that driveway, really, so it's being used, as a driveway, but it's too small, I think, to be buildable. This one is, there was a trailer park at one time, and it's no longer there, but some of the properties were carved up pretty good. And the lot is to the right of that house that you see right in front.
And it's landlocked.
Well, it depends on whether or not there's a, is that parallel street right here?
It is
Yeah.
not.
It
Oh,
is-
that's
That's
what
the
the map
property owned,
says.
that originally was owned by Millie Kruger, and that she sold when she sold the little house on the right. So you would have to get permission to go across those people's property to get to that lot. That would be another reason why it's not a very popular location.
And the owner of that property has contacted the county about purchasing, with an interest in purchasing the lot. This is on Atchison Street. As you look north, that's the Amelia Earhart Field. And there's a parking lot there, a gravel parking lot. It's a vacant lot. This is a really small house. Didn't sell in a prior sale. Don't know much about the condition of it, but I'm guessing it. Pretty much. Not showing as transferred, and I didn't show it as, well, let's look at it.
Oh, no, it's. Okay. I think it's just a property to the corner. I don't think that house is in it. But I would have to look again.
This property is vacant. You see I don't know if those are both retaining walls or if it's just a retaining wall and then a block wall there. That gives you an idea of what the properties are that we have to look at.
So, this is what they throw my 5 cents in. It seems like a good way to go would be offer these properties to the city of Atchison's land bank. But I hate for them to see well, I don't want to take these too. There's so many of them adjacent to another house. And I've seen people take the lot next door in Old Atchison and make that property look pretty cool. But city of Atchison can do something a land bank easier than we can do anything else. I mean, I think, I just hate to not say, oh, I don't want to take this one lot, if we're gonna still deal with it, but
I think if there's interest from adjacent landowners, I'd like to pursue there's interest in. And then as a group, if we're gonna offer it, then offer
and
all
maybe,
or none.
maybe I don't. My understanding is you could transfer the land bank. The land bank has authority to transfer it to a new owner. For us to transfer it to a new owner, it's gonna take all this things that Pat went through, all these holding it for 6 months. And if you do it in the sheriff's deed part of it, it now becomes county property. Do we have to mow it? Do we have to pay property tax on it? I mean, those are questions I think could be raised. Giving it the land bank would be the greatest thing we could do.
See, I agree with Eric. I think we should look at talking to adjacent landowners first. And I know that based on last year's tax sale that I was at, the city of Atchison had that same, like, they asked the adjacent landowner before they even put it in bid on it because they didn't want to step on a resident's toes. I remember she specifically asked that if there was a parcel that the city was bidding against a person, well, are you trying to increase your lot? Because we don't want to step on your toes, you know?
So Commissioner Quinn, do we have the authority to sell it to the adjacent owner without going through a whole big process? Okay.
I don't know.
Well, two things. I can tell you from going out and talking to adjacent landowners that when the county comes and says, we have something we'd like to give you or sell to you, they're just not very receptive. And I think Pat would agree that's a fair statement. The second thing is, even if you do that, you have to look at one of these 3 avenues through which you're going to do it.
Mhm.
And the more process you throw in here, you're looking at land that doesn't have a whole lot of value. It's all inside the city limits. And then how much county time are you going to put into trying to dispose of items which are absolutely deemed not very valuable at the sale where they were offered? You could have bought any one of these properties for $38 at the tax sale. And no one chose to put in a bid. And there were quite a few people there.
Yeah.
So it's the question becomes, how much time do you put into them?
And if you could just reiterate the process as far as, because I know a lot of people are scared to bid at the tax sale because it's buyer beware, right? Buy at your own risk. Here you go.
Absolutely.
You know, don't put money until you get your deed, like all the things of, if this was offered to an adjacent landowner, that deed would already be in hand. It would just be a transfer at that moment, or, and then also, I
That's
guess,
not the way Pat is.
It would depend on which of the processes you use. If it is for affordable low-income housing or for community development or economic development, the authority is to sell the property, not give. And that statute provides that the Board of County Commissioners may abate any delinquent taxes and special assessments. And there's no process that is set forth. So I don't think there's a requirement for that type of sale to have the publication or anything, but you would have to make a finding that it was for community development purposes. So if you do it through transfers to the county, to a county land bank, which we don't have, I don't think requires a process. But the other ones are either going to require that you have an offer in hand, or that you solicit offers, and then that offer gets approved, submitted to the court and approved. So it
That-
depends on which way you sell it.
The question I have, and this goes back into what Casey is asking. So if we transfer one of these lots to somebody for economic development purposes, the courts would still have the option of up to a year reversing the rights of sale, correct?
Yes, any
So-
property.
So they're still gonna have to deal with that.
Gotcha.
But don't we eliminate that with the land?
I don't know that you ever do, because I think it's a due process issue. That if somebody came back and the claimant that you're talking about showing up is somebody who may not have they might be an heir of somebody who's died. And the property's in the name of.
We're talking about properties worth $30 or $40 at the most.
Yeah, and some of those properties also might be worth $30 or $40, but there might be 30 or 40 heirs.
Yeah.
There might have been 5 children and one of them is deceased, and that one had 3 children, and one of those children is deceased, who had 2 children, and you have to add all of those interests together. So that can be complicated to try to figure all that out. But if this is for community development, there is not a process that is required by statute. So I think you can do any sale.
And the city's land bank has those processes in place. In the infrastructure and the group and the board to
They do have the board,
do that.
they do. Yeah, and I think you could do the transfers to them as well.
Do you have a recommendation for us?
Well,
Can I ask you a couple more questions?
Sure.
Just because I want to understand. So obviously these are tax sale properties, they're delinquent, and we're trying to recoup money here at the county level. So if we know, I feel like it's almost like a one size doesn't fit all of these, and the fact of like, if we know that there are already processes in place to do a study on community development, are we allowed, like, do you think the city would pay for any of the lots that are in their footprint of looking for community development? I hate to miss out on an opportunity for funding, because that's the point of the tax sales, getting back on the tax roll, start generating money versus, oh, we don't know, we don't care, and handing them over. I don't know. I just want to ask that because again, at K.A.C., the gentleman said he's in Atchison studying this area for community development. So I just
think
would
that-
love to hear your input because you guys are involved in it more than
If
I
we
am.
sold all of them, it'd be worth $518 for the minimum bid. We sold every property that we charge the city $518.
To me, I think you answered, to me, the big part of the question is how do you get them back in onto the tax roll and the care of them? And the reason that I thought that if we could get it into an adjacent landowner is probably the quickest, best care of those lots is if it's part of their existing home. They would be willing to mow it and keep it up and improve it just from that standpoint, and it would be back on the tax rolls. More so than if it was in some kind of, maybe mowed once a month through some land bank. It might be years before there's ever a use for them. And that's the reason I like the private adjacent, and it's also like a value added product. If you have a home and all of a sudden you've got a bigger yard, when you go to sell it, that could be a big boost if someone's wanting to put something else in, looking for a used home and a garage or area like that. So that's just my thoughts, but I think when you get down to no more than what the physical worth is, what this estimated or wouldn't even bring the minimum bid. I think the thing is to get it back on the tax rolls. That's the way I look at it.
I don't know that I really have a recommendation, and I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think it's unlikely that the city land bank would be interested in paying for any or all of them. But I haven't discussed it with them. But because the bidding options were relatively cheap, I don't think they were saying, yeah, I don't know if we want to spend $38 on.
I can tell you at the previous tax sale. The city manager at that time thought that it was worthwhile. You're gonna end up mowing them anyway. Why not just pay a little bit for it? And if no one else wants it, and then the city has them in the land bank and made them easier to mow. In all honesty, this time around, they took a look and said, that didn't do us anything except get us more properties to mow. And so they declined to even be involved or bid on any properties this time, if I am correct.
Yeah, they were.
And so that the reality is these, I don't think there's much value to it. And the question is, how much more time do you want to put into trying to find somebody? If there's an avenue you can get them into.
$518 because all.
Well, and I think that kind of summarized for me of the investment, because if there was a community development initiative that was going to happen anytime soon and it was ready to go, they would have been picking them
But the
up.
land bank is a community development initiative.
Mhm. But they didn't.
Purpose of this. And I know about it, probably as much about the land bank as anybody does.
I made a mistake on there that I can share. The one that I showed that was clicking down the hill towards Elephant Park, that's 7th Street. These are on 6th Street. This is the property. So there were two properties in a row. This is what those two properties are.
Okay.
So that's my mistake. I'm sorry.
Okay, so just to summarize on, because we don't have to make this decision today, but
No.
If we were to send a letter to adjacent property owners, like, hey, this didn't sell at the tax sale, give us a call by November 15th if you're interested in this, like giving them an opportunity to where we can say, you did your due diligence to try to get it back on the tax roll. And then if we don't hear from anyone in that period of time, then turn them all over to the city of Atchison Land Bank if they're interested and move on. But
So who's gonna do that?
I mean, I would do that.
Yeah, we've actually kind of already, it's very easy to get those, and some of those, there are a few of them, I think that there are neighbors that would be interested in it. But it's pretty easy to get those names. And addresses, so.
Well, the one I'm thinking about in Kansas Street where they took both sides of their house. They tricked it out really nice by getting a couple lots.
I think that. I think because you had identified a couple of those properties that said there was some interest in it.
Are you looking at giving them away then or selling them? Because that will make a difference in which avenue Pat's gonna deal with here, probably.
You know,
Yeah, well, that first option for community development, the statute authorizes sale. But the sale doesn't have. The sale could be the cost of the deed, and these deeds would be smaller than sheriff's deeds, so could probably fit on a single page, $21. And if $21 is gonna squirrel the deal for someone, I'm not sure that.
Yeah.
So $21 is good for free. Because we're gonna get our deed cost. back.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why we wouldn't just handle it the same way as we handled our other vacant lots. So we just publish sealed bid and then that gave them an opportunity. I mean, we did it over here at the corner
That's true.
of Parallel.
Mhm.
We did it out on Sherman Road, like, here you go, adjacent landowners, you know what's happening. You have an opportunity to bid, turn in your sealed bid by this time, and then how the cards fall, they
Both
fall.
people approach us about that idea. We have people approach us to want us this.
True. But there's no reason you couldn't do that.
In order to do that, though, you're gonna have to take them into the name of the county. Get them all in the county's name and then wait 6 months. Okay, and that is that not true?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's not, I don't know. The transfer under the first option from 792811 for affordable low-income housing or community development, it doesn't have any process built into it.
Okay.
It doesn't restrict any process. And maybe we phrase it as requests for proposals, not bids. So if you're not required to accept any of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is what we did on the
Yeah,
Okay.
very similar,
other ones.
right? But yeah, I think we could do that. We could do that.
There is no guarantee that the city of Atchison commission would even accept the properties. I mean,
The land bank would accept.
they would. I mean, it's,
The land bank board members of the city commission. So it's the same thing,
okay. Well, I just wondered what,
but they'd have to have a hearing.
okay. We need anything further on that then?
No, well, unless do you want me to start any particular process, or do you want to think about it and we'll talk about it in a couple weeks, or?
I mean, I like the same process that we had for the other two parcels of just putting them out there. Here's what we're gonna. And
If
at
we
least we took the opportunity to recoup costs at the county level. A little bit of effort. And then if we don't get bids, then that's the conversation of turning things over to the land bank, but to not go through the same process that we did with other vacant properties, and then with the statement that adjacent landowners have showed interest, like, why not? I mean,
But these aren't empty county properties.
but they're county properties now, correct? That's what,
They're just not needed into our,
There's some ambiguity in the statute, on the tax sale statutes. The process talks about a sale by the county treasurer that only the county is allowed to bid at. And at that sale, and this happens every year in September, and that's how we get the lien that we foreclose through a tax sale. But reading those statutes, that the county, sometimes they refer to that as the county already owning the property. And so there's ambiguity built in, even if we were going to use this process. That doesn't have something in it, I would still send notice to the affected landowners or record title owners. And have those approved by a court. I have a hearing, at least an opportunity for them to show up and argue their side of the court, but just because it's safer to do that. We also, on those other properties that we sold, we obtained title insurance. We probably wouldn't be able to do that here. And I know we wouldn't be able to do that here through local vendors. But that adds some expense to it that I'm not sure would be justified in this context. So.
okay, I'd like to revisit this in a week or two.
Okay.
Is that fun?
Yeah.
Do you have any more
I
updates?
hope we get that $500 back.
No, I don't.
No, okay. Next up is executive sessions.
yes. Okay. Okay, I move that the Board of County Commissions recess into executive session at 2:00 PM for consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privileged in an attorney-client relationship as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B2, and that the purpose of the closed session is to protect confidentiality of the discussion, and that the board come out of executive session in 45 minutes in the commission room basement of the courthouse. Those present will be the three commissioners, County Councilor Patrick Henderson, IT Director Wes Lanner, Financial Director Mark Zeltner, and HR Director Jody Moore.
Is there a second?
I'm trying to figure out why we're doing 45 minutes.
That would be-
Because
Why is it 15 minutes?
Because we need 45 minutes.
I'll second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Against, yeah.
Okay. We want to go into executive session. Okay, we're back from executive session. We're- No more executive sessions.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we have one. Okay. I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 2:47 PM for consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privileged in an attorney-client relationship as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B2, and that the purpose of the closed session is to protect confidentiality of the discussion, and that the board come out of executive session at 3 PM in the commission room basement of a courthouse. Those present will be the three commissioners, County Councilor Patrick Henderson, HR Director Jody Moore, and Financial Director Mark Silver.
Do you hear a second? Second. It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's just 3-0. Three.
Jody, I'm gonna sit here at the table. If you wanna sit.
Okay, back out of executive session.
Do you mind if I add one more thing? I
Sure.
just want to make a motion. I would like to authorize, or I would like that we would authorize, ARPA money, for premium pay, using a formula for our employees of $1,200 for full-time and $600 for part-time. And if, we could just authorize that and allow financial director to come up with what that looks like.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Next public comment. Hearing none. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I moved to adjourn at 3:01 PM.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Can I mention that there's 3 sets of bills there? That set over there has not been signed by Mr. Henderson. That's from